Okay. Why quiet quitting is the best thing Gen Z ever did.
Let me give you two scenarios. In scenario one, you have Tom. Now, Tom has worked at a company for 10 years now, and he's been nothing but loyal and hardworking. He comes in 30 minutes early and he leaves an hour late. He
Dang.
doesn't just get his work done, he helps his team out and he gets a little bit extra done to help his boss. He's been one of the most productive employees for his company for a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tom, for the last 4 years, he's been really trying to push himself to prove that he's management material in this company. The extra hour he's staying late, he's not being paid for. The 30 minutes early he's coming in, he's not being paid for. He's
Yeah, that is, maybe in one day it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's actually a lot. I mean, plus you have to consider the fact of all the other things that that person is doing. Who knows how long he has to, or how early he has to wake up just to come into work, an extra 30 minutes early, or how long his drive is to work, which is another variable. And then he has to drive back home after that extra hour. So that an hour and a half just to get there early and leave there late. Sheesh.
going above and beyond and hustling, trying to prove that he's an asset to his company. Now, Tom's been given raises. He's given 5% raises, and he's given a pat on the back every 2 years. Now, just last year,
All
Tom's
right, 5% raise every 2 years. Okay, I guess that's average. I mean, I don't really know.
manager announced that he was going to be retiring. And for the last year, Tom has really been hoping that he would get that promotion. But what happened is when Tom's manager quit, the owner of the company brought in a manager from outside, from
Uh-huh.
a different company, to come manage here. Tom had given 10 years of his life to a company, coming in early, leaving late, only to find out that he wasn't getting this promotion to management.
That
Now, in
yeah,
scenario two, we have Tim.
that
Tim
sucks.
is also a good worker, but he wouldn't consider himself to be the hardest working person in the office.
Mhm.
Someday Tim comes in early and leaves late, but for the most part, he does what he's supposed to do and he comes in on time and leaves on time. Now, Tim,
Yeah. So the first guy is like average plus a little bit extra, and the second guy is just like average. All right.
he likes to keep things moving, so he switches jobs every 2 years. He doesn't
Oh,
want too much repetition in his life. He wants to constantly be evolving and changing. Now, Tim has never gunned for a management position before in a company.
I mean, there was a brief period in my life where I would hop from job to job. Um, like right out of high school, I I should have like just started going to college, but I took a year off or whatever. And then like during that year off, I was just like I wasn't doing anything, and I was like, oh God, I need a job. So I started working at Cece's, like Cece's Pizza, for like what, like 3-ish years, and like the people were cool, but the job sucked. Um, and then eventually I just ended up quitting because just couldn't stand it there anymore. I forgot the reason why. I just remember I was just pissed at something. But I like job hopping is, I guess, it's kind of understandable because like there's certain jobs where there's like an unspoken thing where it's not like an unspoken thing, but it's like it's understandable if you just job hop around because let's say uh like if you work at McDonald's or you're like a waitress or a waiter. um what else? Like I'm not like shitting on any of these jobs. Like I've done most of these jobs. Like if you're I've worked at a restaurant. I've been a stalker um for what was it, like Marshalls, been a stalker for Walmart. Like yeah, I've had a ton of jobs. I used to do like contract work, like fixing up houses, like painting, cutting holes in walls, installing things and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just I got mentally beat up. It was just annoying to me. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just like stressful, not knowing that you're like never really building to anything. Whenever you like just do job hopping, it sucks, man.
But on his last job switch, he was able to get into a management position with his long work history. Every 2 years when Tim switches jobs, he gets a significant pay bump, typically about 10% every 2 years.
Oh,
And now that Tim is in his newest job as a manager, he got a significant pay boost that he wasn't even expecting.
oh, quiet quitting.
So, how much effort do you put into work? Because right now, the phrase quiet quitting is exploding on
I'm clueless on what quiet quitting is.
social media.
That's right. TikTok videos with millions of views urge you to do your job, but don't let it take over your life.
Basically, you are not really quitting your job. You're just doing exactly what's in the job description.
Quiet quitting is just doing the job you were hired to do within the schedule you've been given to do it.
It's every
Yeah. Okay, I get it. A lot of the time, these jobs ask you, like, there's obviously like a little paragraph, or maybe it's not a paragraph, maybe it's like a page of like things that are expected of you, but then whenever you get there, you do everything, but then sometimes you, like, let's say if you're a good worker and you just get everything done like quickly and efficiently, both of those things, the manager, like the upper leadership, I'll say, will like not let you like sit down and take a break or something. That's just not something that ever happens. It's like, oh, can you go do this for me? Okay. Like, they're always constantly asking you to go do something. Oh, go sweep up, go clean the bathroom, go do this, go do that. Oh, go straighten up the shelves. Yeah. It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. Oh yeah. I was a waiter for like a retirement home, and it's like once you like seated everybody down, like every waiter had like a set amount of tables, and they were always full. And like you could get everybody everything they wanted, and whenever you were done, or you were never really done or whatever, but it's like just go stand out there in case anybody needs you for anything. Like can I just like sit down, please? Like, I'm on my feet for X amount of hours, and these shoes suck. It's damn near like, that thin rug where it's like little tiny thin fuzz. It's not like the thick fuzz, but it's like the thin fuzz. So essentially you're standing on like concrete, and then your shoes suck, and you're just on your feet, and a couple hours rolls by, and then you realize, oh my God, my feet hurt. Why? Can I just like sit down for a sec? Yeah, it's annoying.
everything that goes against what we've been taught.
If you're a quiet quitter, you're a loser.
Of course he would think everybody's a quiet quitter. This guy just sits on his couch and just collects money from all his investments.
un-American.
Quiet quitting is a trend that started on TikTok and quickly took over the internet. Quiet quitting, in its simplest terms, refers to meeting the minimum requirements of your job, not going beyond that. You're checking
Okay, so that's what I thought. Meeting the minimum requirements for your job.
all of the boxes in your job description, but you're not going that extra mile. You're working your 40 hours a week, but not a minute more. People have also referred to quiet quitting as coasting, acting your wage, or just working.
Yeah, that's right. People are quiet quitting. They're just going to their jobs and then just doing the job from 9 to 5. And then hold up. That's just working. That's work.
Okay, so then what happens? So what? The job, they changed the okay, so at that time, let's say in the beginning, the job description is I don't know, like a single paragraph, or like, I don't know, 5 sentences long, be able to do this, and that. But then they, I don't know, for whatever reason, like the upper leadership just realizes like shit's not getting done. They got a bunch of quiet quitters. So then they have to go back in and alter the job description. And maybe some people quit, maybe some people stay. And then all of a sudden, instead of a single paragraph, it's like 2 paragraphs of shit. But they didn't raise the minimum wage. They just added on more duties, but your pay is the same. So then that's the workaround.
You realize that's work.
As you can imagine, this has really served to further the divide between business leaders and the working class. The working class has essentially taken a step back from a lot of the pressures and expectations that have historically mostly benefited companies and their leadership. When you look at the lines being drawn, it's clear that quiet quitting isn't a left-right issue or even a geographic issue. Quiet quitting is a class issue and to a lesser extent, a generational issue. Now, the vast majority of people...
Oh, class issue. So this is a rich people, poor people thing, or maybe not even that extreme. It's like a poor people / middle of the ground type people thing. I don't know.
People that support quiet quitting tend to be people that work 9 to 5s, they have a boss, and they don't have a big voice in their company. And typically the people that oppose quiet quitting are the executives, management companies, basically people that need employees to work under them. Now, what I've seen anecdotally is there tends to be a broad amount of support between generations for the idea of quiet quitting. Typically, if you're working class or you were...
Oh, wait a sec. I'm in the way. Okay.
Working class at some point in your life, you have some level of empathy with quiet quitters and basically the frustrations that they're talking about. But what you do see is when there are those opponents or those outspoken people against quiet quitting, they do tend to skew a little bit older. Now, the fact that this movement started on TikTok and it's predominantly happening in the tech industry leads me to believe that it started with younger people, Gen Z.
Oh, okay. So this is happening in the tech industry, and as far as I know, isn't the tech industry aren't they at the most risk of having jobs being taken away by AI because of coding? Like AI can do coding better than people can do coding and stuff like that. Isn't that it?
Z and millennials. Yes, there is broad support. We're seeing support from older people that do agree with quiet quitting, but it seems to me like this movement really just started with the kids saying the quiet part out loud. It seems like for the first time, young adults are really standing up and saying, hey, we have a problem here. And a lot of older adults that have been through it are saying, yeah, we recognize this problem. We've seen it too. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that...
This is really weird to me, or not weird, but just eye-opening, because there are certain sentences that can obviously work around a job description. You don't even need all that second paragraph stuff. It's you can have your main body of duties that is expected of you of your position, and then at the bottom they can just throw in a sentence oh, and any additional duties, what was it? What was the word? There's a certain word at it's any additional duties at managerial discretion. Managerial discretion, and that's the saving sentence, the saving phrase that'll save them. Oh, you're supposed to do this, and anything else I tell you to do. It's okay. If you see a sentence like that, it just means you're just opening up to opening yourself up to being taken advantage of.
Quiet quitting really picked up after COVID and after the Great Resignation. I can only speak to my own experiences working at a restaurant, but after COVID hit, I saw a lot of my best coworkers leave, and suddenly the expectations just kept getting bigger and bigger on remaining staff, to the point where you would have one person doing what used to be 2 people's jobs, and it's not like our pay magically increased either. We were getting...
Oh yeah, you're what they do. They doubled the amount of work you did, but didn't increase the pay, or maybe if they did, they only increased it by like 25 cents or something like that. Yeah, that's some stupid ass shit, dude.
Getting paid pretty much the same, but we were expected to do twice the work. Now, in a normal economy, an increased workload alone is enough to make people burn out. But when you combine that with no increases in pay, what you have is you have more people that would start to quit because they're looking at it going, I'm doing twice the work for the same amount of pay. As more people would quit, the problem would only get worse, and it turned into this downward spiral where you had less and less people doing more and more and more. Now, I've heard a lot of older people and heads of companies refer to quiet quitters as lazy. And to a degree, I do understand
Yeah.
and appreciate that perspective. I don't think it's a great thing if broad swaths of people are just mentally checking out from their jobs. But you have to understand and appreciate the perspective of quiet quitters. The working class has been pushed to its absolute limit for decades now, and nobody's done a thing about it. And in my view, I think that quiet quitting is just the natural progression of that pain that the working class has been feeling for decades now.
I mean, you mentioned like tech jobs at first. But then you said like what you did was like restaurant stuff. I did restaurant stuff too. Yeah, man, restaurants is just like one of those jobs where it's like you can always be doing something, and you can't, like, if you try to like sit down, like the only time you can really like just take a break is if you smoke. Then like the manager will be like, okay, go take like a 5-minute smoke break and then come back in. And it's like, oh, that guy's doing like a bad habit, so he gets to like chill out just because he needs to farm his addiction a little bit. I don't fucking do drugs or smoke or drink or anything like that. So what? I gotta fucking, you get to use me as like a workhorse? Fuck you. It's like, dude, there is literally, if you're like a working class person, there is no incentive for you to be healthy. Like none. You get so many things if you have like bad habits or like little addictions or things like that, dude. It's so stupid.
I think that people are sort of using it as a defense mechanism, a way to stay sane, or a way to try and figure out how to prosper and how to survive in today's world. And if you don't believe me on that, then let me show you this. Since the end of the baby boomer generation, there have been 3 fundamental shifts that have changed America and flipped labor upside down. First, the world or society has changed. Second, companies and their leadership have changed. And third, technology has changed. So let's look at the first one of those. The reality of being working class today is significantly different than it was even in the early 2000s. Let's take a look at median home prices, for example. Median home prices looked fairly reasonable in the US through the early 2000s, but after about 2003, you saw this huge spike where prices started to skyrocket.
Why is that though? I mean, understandably, like, are homes being made that drastically different? I mean, there are, you know, yes, you can have like a home, like there's a bunch of different types of homes, and I would imagine this has to kind of take into account like for different states. You know, obviously a home in New York or California isn't going to be the same as like, let's say Mississippi or Florida or I don't know, like some southern state or something like that. So there's going to be a big drastic difference there. But I would say to some degree, depending on the type of house you buy, I think houses are being made better with like better quality, but you know, you still have a lot of variance within that like category alone. So I could understand like a little hike up, but like all of this like exponential shit, this is like ridiculous, dude. Like I agree with like the green line, but I do not agree with the red line. That's some like show me some shit that like homes are that much better than they were over here. Like, come on.
And yes, I get that houses have always been expensive, but this chart doesn't even tell the full story. Let's take a look at how home prices have competed against inflation. In 1963, the median US home price was $17,800.
Bro.
Let's put that number into an inflation calculator and see hypothetically what home prices should look like in 2022 if they were growing in line with inflation. So in 2022, if housing prices had grown in line with inflation, the median housing price should be $159,000. But when you look at what the median house price in America,
oh wow, I could actually buy a house for that.
America actually is, it's $440,000. What you're seeing is houses are getting.
I can't really buy that house. I could get like the first house maybe with a loan, but this one I don't think I make enough with a loan for this one.
Way more expensive faster than inflation is going up. From the 1960s through the early 2000s, home prices were about 4 to 5 times more than median income. Meaning if you made about $40,000 a year, you would expect your house to cost about $160,000 a year.
Okay, so about 4 years So whatever you make in 4 years, that is about how much you could expect to pay. Okay, that's reasonable.
In 2022, though, home prices are about 8 times the median income.
Oh,
Meaning a house used to be about 4 times more than what your salary was, and now it's looking like about 8 times. And the numbers keep
yeah, like what the fuck?
going up. We know the CPI just keeps going up right now in 20.
So that's the price of homes. So I don't know. I would have to see, like, you would have to take like a poll within like the realty community, like people that actually sell homes, and compare them to like how many houses were you selling back then compared to how many are you selling now. So like if you were selling like a bunch of houses back then it's understandable for them to just cost less. But if you're selling less houses, then you have to make up for the like the sheer like volume loss. So every sell matters so much more. And I have to imagine, like, to some degree it's probably like kind of stressful to like sell a house or whatever. Like it's not always as easy as like what you see on TV with like the home makeover shows and whatnot, where everything's like scripted and like, oh, we're gonna fix up this house and da 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 da. It's like that's probably got to be like really stressful too, like knowing that like every thing just hinges on like your next potential sell. Like it has to be a home run or you didn't do shit.
2022. So it's looking like this is only going to get worse. Now, what does this have to do with quiet quitting? Well, for the first time in modern US history, home ownership is looking like it's out of the reach of tons of young people. Which, when you look at that,
yeah, I
means
don't
it's
know,
getting
home.
harder and harder for people to live the ordinary.
Yeah, this ain't my home. Yeah, this is my mom's home still.
American life over time. Now, this next part might really get me killed, but I'm going to say it anyways because I think this is why it's happening at a macro scale, and I think this is valuable information to share. But look at this graph of currency in circulation. This is how many dollars have been printed or added into our economy over time. If we look at the money printed since 1965 and compare it with median home prices, these graphs are almost identical. The more money the government prints, the more expensive homes get. But
surely you don't think all that money is going to like the lower / middle class, right? Surely.
Here's the thing, it's not the government printing dollars and adding money into our economy. They're partially to blame for it, but it's also the Federal Reserve, which is an institution that's actually not even part of our government, and it's not overseen by standard people like us. But once again, what does this have to do with quiet quitting? Well, the working class is being exploited by the elites in our government and the Federal Reserve, and nobody's talking about it. We're being sold out and turned into wage slaves so that our leadership can extract our wealth of the working class. They have the ultimate leverage over us because they get to print the money that we need to use.
So this is one of those videos that took a turn. Yeah, that was a very 90-degree angle turn, but it's fine. It's understandable. Let's just keep watching though.
So they can make our life more difficult by stealing our income, time, and labor by just printing more money while keeping us working. And then we're the ones that are called lazy when we have a problem with this system and we want to step back from it. I say all of that to say that the first enemy of the working class is the government and their henchmen at the Federal Reserve. These people are making our lives more difficult, making it so that we have to work harder and longer to afford the basic stuff that our parents were able to get at younger ages. That doesn't mean that companies are blameless in this though. I think corporate failures are actually probably a bigger cause in quiet quitting than the government. You hear stories about what...
To some degree, I kind of agree with you, but is it that simple? That... I mean, I just got overwhelmed with so many like thoughts. I was just like, oh, I don't even know what to say anymore.
Companies were like during our grandparents' generation. They got things like pensions, good benefits, you know.
I mean, like companies are way bigger now than they were back then, I would imagine.
You could get a job at 20 and support a family. That's not a thing anymore. There's not that same level of loyalty that existed back then. We're just not seeing it now. And yes, there are a ton of stories in the past from managers, being dicks, being bad people.
Oh yeah.
But typically what you saw from the top down in a company is that they actually cared for their employee to some degree, and they were trying to build relationships with people. That's why you hear stories about people would get gold watches after working at a company for 40 years. That's why, you hear about...
I did hear about that. That was a thing, like even in movies, I think, with the gold watches, like actual gold, not like just some fake ass gold shit.
Pensions, or you'd hear about all of these different employee benefit programs.
Bro, if I were to get like a gold watch from my job, I'd be like, thanks, and just figure out how much gold is there, melt that shit down and sell that shit, dude. I'm like, thanks for the watch. Gotta go sell this.
Programs and employee appreciation events that a lot of companies just don't do now. So you have to look at that and say, if companies are getting more transactional with their employees, how can you expect employees not to get more transactional with their employers? If you don't care about building a relationship with me and you're here to make money off my back, then that's fine. I'll be here to make money off your back. And I think that's the shift that you're seeing in a lot of people. You can't be loyal to somebody that's not loyal to you for forever.
For forever, yeah. I mean, the goal of, like, I don't know, an owner slash manager is to get the most work for the least pay. The goal of a worker is to do the least work, or the least work for the most pay. And those are just like polar opposites.
I think you see that general lack of loyalty at the macro level and at the micro level. Employees just aren't rewarded for staying at companies anymore. If you look at the data, people who switch jobs every couple of years end up making way more money than people who stay with companies for 7 years or longer.
Dang.
There's literally monetary incentive to...
And that's probably that has to be like specific for like each industry. Like that has to be taken into account, right? Like surely. I mean, I don't know how true that is. Like on average, people that flip-flop jobs make more money versus someone that just stays. I mean, I never like even put those two together. I never would have thought of that.
Hop between companies, hop between jobs, because you'll make more money if you stay with a...
Like, is this person like just job hopping and they're doing like the same job but just at a different company? I'm kind of curious about that.
Company, they're not going to pay you more to match that. And don't tell me that companies can't afford to pay more, because when you look at corporate profits versus employee compensation over time, companies have been screwing us for the last 20 years. Corporate profits have just gone up and up, whereas our compensation, our wages, have mostly stayed stagnant for the last...
What? Red line go up, but blue line kind of go up. But wait, what is this? Corporate profits versus labor income. Risk and reward versus slow and steady. Okay, corporate profits is the blue line. And a capital consumption adjustment, gross domestic product. Okay, and then the red line is wages and salary accruals, gross domestic product. So wages, red line, corporate profit, blue line. But this big chunk happened
20 years.
About 20 years. Okay, I get what he's saying. And I don't know, there just seems like there needs to be more variables. I mean, because it's very easy to say like big corporation, or even like it's easy to say like big corporation bad, but like the rules are just different, or maybe not like the rules, but like if you compare like a small company to like a large company, would the numbers still like line up, right?
This is hard evidence that there's a growing disparity between what companies are making and what the working class is being paid. And I think this is even more frustrating when you compare it with the gap between workplace productivity and employee pay. The United States is getting more and more efficient. We're producing more and more. Our workplaces are more productive, but the working class is basically staying stagnant. We're not getting paid more to reflect that. So what does that have to do with quiet quitting? You look at it and you have to say all of the odds are stacked against young people today joining the workforce.
Yeah.
Can we really expect them to work harder than ever when they're getting less and less for their labor every year. But even with all of the financial obstacles that I've shown you, I think one of the biggest problems in corporate America that's really driving a lot of this quiet quitting is poor leadership style. It starts at the top, but you have a ton of business owners nowadays that have no real empathy, understanding, or appreciation for what it's like to be working class in today's world.
I mean, and he's probably talking about just like a majority type of leader with X characteristics or whatever. I'm sure there are plenty of leaders out there, so on and so forth, where they know what it's like to stick their hands in the mud of society and just live there for many years. And then over time, you just, get a grip and you decide to start a company and you want to do it your way. And you're a good CEO, you're a good manager or whatever. And I am sure that type of person exists. And there should be more people like that. But I can't really say like how many like good CEOs and bad CEOs or company owners there are, because I don't know. I just don't really interact with them. I don't see anything. So, I wish I could say more, but.
Take Kevin O'Leary, for example. This guy is the prime example of out of touch, greedy corporate leadership.
Oh.
This guy literally said
the out of touch rich guy. Bro, wasn't there there were two instances I remember. Wasn't it like some either Chinese or Japanese show one time where they took like a really rich guy and they only gave him like, I don't know, 40, 50K a year to like, okay, this just to make him see like what it's like. And they just wanted him, or I don't know if he agreed to do it. But like he started doing it and he's like, he just gave up after like a week or two. He's like, oh, this is too fucking hard. This is dumb. And then he just dipped out and he like quit the show or some shit like that. He's like, this is too hard. This is stupid. I'm out of here. I'm rich. I forgot the name of the show. I really wish I remember. I saw it like years ago. And then there was another instance. I think it was on Price is Right. And I think it was Bill Gates, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong. Where, what was it? Like Bill Gates went on Price is Right. And he had to like do this one little game where he had to guess the price of like certain common household products or something. And like there was like a jar of peanut butter, but he guessed like $20. And then you know how the crowd will usually like clap and cheer? Like, I don't think the crowd clapped and cheered. The crowd was just like quiet. And they went to the next product and it was like a jug of milk, and he's like I don't know, $15. And then the audience was like again, it was like kind of quiet, it was like a kind of awkward vibe. And then it was like a tub of ice cream, and he just thought like everything was around $20, like give or take. And it was like the funniest shit, dude. It's like, bro, you cannot be asking these like multi-billion-dollar enjoyers to like just guess the price of like common household products. And of course they're gonna be out of touch. Of course. I mean, if you're like $1 billion enjoyer haver and you think you're in touch, I mean, then great. And you still go to like McDonald's and you eat just like regular ass shit, cool. But I would say the vast majority of like whatever money point you want to put on it, of like rich people, whatever money point, like I would say most like crazy rich people, I would say they're probably out of touch. I mean, I'm just guessing, but just from like those two little things, I mean,
that quiet quitting is worse than COVID.
If you walk in your interview and say, I only work from 9 to 5 and then I stop.
Well, yeah, of course he would think quiet quitting is worse than COVID, because he makes money off of them, off of just regular workers. I mean, and aren't a lot of jobs, or at least to some degree, at risk of being taken over by like a robot or a machine or some shit? I mean, bro, there's like, just the other day, there's like a Publix near me, and like they just installed like a bunch of self checkouts in there. So it's like half of the it's really weird in Publix. It's like half of the people will go to the self checkout because they just want to get their shit and leave, and then there's another half of people that purposely still go to the cashier because they want to support the worker, which is fine. I mean, I don't give a shit. But then there's another half, all right, that you don't see the person. They're in there for like a split second. At least in Publix. I don't know. It's probably to some degree the same at Walmart. There is another third of people that do that all online buying of their shit on the app. So then they have like a worker, you know, go get all the stuff, put it in the order, tape it up with like all the items and whatnot. And they set it on the shelf, and then that person just comes in and grabs their shit and leaves. There's that person. So there's just a bunch of different ways and different, I don't know. Like, bro, the older I fucking get, it's like just doing normal ass shit is just, it's way too like politically like driven. Like just doing simple things. It's like, can I just chill out, please, without being called a quiet quitter or an overachiever or anything like that? Like, Jesus Christ, man.
Working. I can't wait to get you into my competitor. Help me find these people. This is like a virus. This is worse than COVID.
He's saying that people working from 9 to 5 and doing the bare minimum is worse than COVID, a virus which killed millions of people across the world. And it's not just Kevin O'Leary that feels this way, it's a lot of higher up leaders in companies. And the problem is a lot of this trickles down into the lower level management, who then has disdain for their workforce. They don't know how to treat people right because coming from the top down, it's an abusive structure. A little empathy, humility, and understanding would go a long way for a lot of these companies that are struggling with quiet quitters. If you want more out of your workforce, you have to build those relationships with people. The working class is getting screwed in 100 ways that it never was before. And then you still have CEOs that have the ego to say shit like, you're lazy if you only work 9 to 5, you don't work 3 hours, and then you want to go to your kid's soccer game after work.
People that shut down their laptop at 5 want that balance in life, want to go to the soccer game, 9 to 5 only. They don't work for me. They don't work for me. They don't work for me.
For people like this,
well, to be honest, at least with like, was it Kevin O'Leary? To some degree, I do think he just says random shit just because he's like, he's taken on this persona of evil billionaire CEO, and he just has fun with it. Whether or not he's actually like that is a whole nother thing. But if you like, there's a level of caricature that I can just feel that he just says shit just because it's like it's gonna get people riled up. All right, so I do believe a lot of it is just character talking. It's not like actual like his thoughts. I mean, but I could be wrong.
I've got news. There are 2 job openings for every 1 unemployed person in America today. This economy is different than the economy that you've been operating in for the last 40, 50, 60 years. Your management style, your leadership style is gonna have to change if you wanna stay competitive. There are more job openings than there are people to work those job openings, which means you're gonna have to get more competitive about how you're getting people to work for you. And throwing money at this isn't gonna fix the issue. The more money you throw at the problem, the more you're gonna need to throw at it in the future. People get accustomed to things like hiring ads. You tap into areas, you burn through their workforce, now you need more people from outside workforces. Again, you have to pay more money in advertising.
Well, that's when you just go overseas. That's when you just start hiring people not in America. I'm assuming like this is all like around like America.
And acquisition costs. That's not sustainable for businesses. The companies that are going to really succeed in this next couple of decades are going to be companies that give their employees a real sense of purpose, a sense of community at work. The feeling that I'm not here just being taken advantage of in some transactional trade. I'm here to help somebody. I'm here to do something bigger than me. And I love the people that I work for. Young people are different. Our circumstances are different. I've outlined it. You can't just be a slave driver and expect young people like me to want to come and work for you. We go, if we're screwed either way, I might as well be screwed and work for somebody that I enjoy, do some sort of work that fulfills me or that I'm happy to help with. And as I started putting this video together, an article came.
What was this? September jobs report shows the Fed is making strides in depressing the job market to fight inflation. Ooh.
Out saying that the Federal Reserve is trying to tighten the labor market. What that means is the Federal Reserve is literally trying to kill a lot of these job openings so that employers don't have to compete so hard, don't have to pay more, don't have to come up with all these great ideas.
Okay, so I would then ask, how are they trying to kill the job openings? Because if they're just hiring robots to do all this shit, well then, yeah, that's already been happening. What about that, at least for like fast food joints, isn't there like a robot called Flippy? It's just like a robot arm. They just like drill into the ground over the like burger like joint or whatever, and it's just a robot arm that just like flips burgers perfectly or something. Flippy will save us. In Flippy we trust.
To get new employees. I told you guys, these people aren't your friends. As soon as the working class has the upper hand.
Well, no one outside of like your little inner circle of like yourself, your family, your friends, maybe your like your coworkers. Nobody outside that is your friend.
And you have the Federal Reserve going to work, trying to weaken us, trying to decrease our bargaining power so that we have to take these jobs. It's not going to work long term though. And that's because technology also changed the game for us. Gary Vee has talked about this a lot, but young people, we're aware of the options that we have.
The amount of options 17, 19, 22-year-olds have going into the world, and they're aware of it, of how easy it is to make $60,000 a year flipping on eBay, making content on TikTok. There are so many more options than what we grew up with if you're over 35 here.
Gen Z grew up with the internet. We know that we can make 40, 50K a year flipping stuff. I know that I can go private label product right now and make 40K if I need to. I know that if I keep grinding on social media for the next 3 years like I've been doing right now, I'll be making 6 figures or more. If you're an employer, your measly 40K a year is not going to keep people working for you if they hate what they do and they hate working for you. We know that we have options, and it really doesn't matter.
Bro, it kind of hurts because like that's more or less about how much I make. God, this fucking sucks.
If the federal government weaponizes the Federal Reserve to tighten the job market, because we're living through the beginning of the second renaissance. The internet is allowing more people to make money online than we ever would have thought possibly even just 10 years ago. Companies are going to have to get more strategic with how they keep their employees and how they give people a sense of purpose, because young people today, the working class, we have more options than the working class ever had in the past. And it's also because of the internet that we even saw this movement pop up on TikTok.
Yeah.
You saw people nationwide starting a movement saying that, hey, we're dealing with the same problem. That to me tells me that the future of unions is going to be digital. That's real bargaining power too. If you have people across state lines, across city lines, across country lines, saying the same things, having the same demand, that's a real bargaining power that we've never.
Oh shit, that I never even thought about that. Like a digital union. Holy shit. Dang.
Seen before. And even with all of that, I do have to be honest and say that technology is a double-edged sword for labor. Because when I mentioned workplace productivity, how it keeps going up and up and up, but wages are mostly staying stagnant, this is partially due to automation. As technology gets—
Oh my god, I didn't know these robots existed! Holy shit. Well, wait. How do the boxes get on there? I would imagine it has to... Like, the arm can go up and down, but then there's this, like, black track. Like, does it just, like, scoot under, like, the pallet and, like, scoop the No, because there's, like, boxes, like, huge. There's probably... there has to be, like, at least one dude in that, like, little crane operating thing still. But, like, how do the boxes get on there?
It's more and more advanced. CEOs are going to be able to replace more and more...
Or was that just, like, a little CGI thing to be like, oh, this is what could potentially happen?
For labor with machines that do what people used to do. This is going to mean that...
Yeah, I mean, there's... I mean, at least for cars, like assembly line cars, like, can a car mostly be made like on an assembly line? Yeah, you still have to have people like put the parts on there in the beginning, but like, isn't the Corvette like one of the only like speedy cars, like sports cars, that is still made on an assembly line? Like, or at least like in the sense that most of the car is made on an assembly line, but there's like a very small degree of like human interaction it takes to like build the car.
They don't have to pay out as much. They're able to make more profit, retain more profit, because machines will work for cheaper than humans will.
Oh, yeah.
That's right or wrong. That's
Yeah, a machine will. You know what's funny? I just thought of this. It's like the machine will do the job exactly with the same quality, but the video started out with quiet quitting, which I think, what was it? The definition was like doing exactly what the job entails. So that kind of doesn't make sense. You're going to have robots do exactly the job description, but you had a person that would do exactly the job description, but you weren't happy with that. So it does, you get what I'm saying?
That's the reality of it, and that's the world that we're moving into. So I say all of this to say, don't let the elites shame you, and don't let your grandparents' generation shame you either. The working class today is coming up in a significantly different world than past generations did. I think quiet quitting is allowing a lot of the working class to stay sane with a lot of the insane stuff going on around us. And I think there are some ambitious people such as myself that are using this opportunity to work 2 jobs, to work 3 jobs, or maybe they're checking out a little bit, they're checking out at 5 from their main job so that they can go and work on a side hustle. Something that is gonna be
I remember that was also a topic. For a person to just have a job, but then they just have another job doing the same thing at like a different company, or maybe doing something different. And it's like having like, I don't know. And then you kind of figure out like which job pays like a little bit better, so that's the one you'll work a little bit more. And then like once you do that, like you sprinkle in the other job, so you're not just like chilling on the weekends or whatever. And then companies didn't like that. I don't want my worker to be working multiple jobs. I just want my worker to work one single job and pour all your extra hours into this job. It's like they didn't like doing that either.
Be their escape plan. The fact of the matter is, working 1 9-to-5 in today's world is not going to buy you a house for most people. So if it's not going to buy you a house or let you live, how can you expect people to be all invested for more than 8 hours a day into your office job if that's not going to allow them to even own a home? As long as you meet the requirements of your job, you're not a bad worker. You're an okay worker.
Yeah.
And I think as crazy as this world has gotten, being an
okay worker is not good enough.
Okay worker at your day job might be the reason that you're able to get through the storm. That might be the reason that you still have the mental bandwidth to go out and start the company that makes money for your family and allows you to buy a house for your kids. Let's just stop and be honest for a second about the fact that if you're working class, if you're a young person today,
that's me.
Odds are stacked against us. More so than our parents' generation.
Yeah, I'm working class, but I'm not like a young kid. I'm fucking 34.
Or even our grandparents' generation. And the wealthy people, the owners of these companies, they want you to keep working more and more. They want you to keep working harder and harder so that they can make the lion's share of whatever money you generate. Your grandparents' generation, they want you to keep working harder and harder. They don't want you to be lazy because that's what they value. But the world today is significantly different than the world that they inherited. I think now more than ever, it's important to work smarter rather than harder. And if these companies want to use you, then it's time to use them back.
Dang. That's some words right there. Them's the words. But, I thought this was a pretty good video. I liked it. I heard the word quiet quitting, but I didn't know the definition of it. I thought it was just like people just quit coming to their job. And then that was it. And like nobody ever gave like 2 weeks notice. Yeah, that's what I thought quiet quitting was. I didn't think quiet quitting was just looking at the job description and doing exactly the job description. Oh my God. That's actually kind of revealing, to be honest, but I don't know. I liked the video and it was kind of eye-opening, actually. Yeah, I liked it for sure, man. And I want to see more like this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.